Captain's log, supplemental. We are continuing to flee from the rebel fleet, which is encroaching behind us. We had a number of options from which we could jump, and while I considered the option of approaching near to a star, I decided it was a very foolish move, and instead chose to visit a location that did not appear to have anything at it. While there were a few merchant ships passing through, nobody seemed to be affecting anyone, and we decided that it was easiest just to move on. Once again we detected a store, and once again we decided that we would wait to visit it until we had acquired a little more scrap. Upon jumping into the next system, we were contacted by a nearby settlement, and they were asking for someone to take up some mercenary work. I decided it was worth at least listening to their offer, and they informed us that a space dock was under assault by rebels, and although the dock was technically illegal within their laws, it was important for their trade, and they offered to pay in fuel and scrap if we promised to save them. Given it was an opportune chance to screw over the rebels, I agreed to rescue the store, and they transmitted its coordinates. I decided to set course for there immediately. Once we arrived at the beacon, we detected the rebel scout assaulting a compound near a desolated moon, and we immediately engaged the rebels. All hands, this is the captain. Be advised, enemy has a missile launcher. Repeat, enemy has a missile launcher. Brace for incoming fire. Flak cannons target the shield generators. Burst lasers, I want their weapons bay offline. Enemy weapons bay completely disabled. Nice job, people. Let's get those door systems back online. Flak cannons target enemy engines. Lovely job. Burst lasers, I want their shields destroyed. Enemy shields completely offline. Good work. Target their engines again, flak cannon. Enemy shields and engines completely destroyed. Let's take the weapons out of the equation. Enemy ship destroyed. The outpost hailed us, and they thanked us for what we'd done. They were also kind enough to patch up our hull and provide us with some scrap. They also offered to sell us a few things, and I did consider buying something. In the end, I sold them the system repair drone, figuring they could get good use out of it, and I used some of the funds to replace our medbay with a clone bay. If I'd had that earlier, then Reinhardt, or at least his clone, would still be with us. Deciding that I still had time, I decided to visit one more location before visiting the second store that we had detected. And I found a broker offering to trade 8 fuel for a single drone. Frankly, this offer was far too good to turn down. I then set course for the store, knowing that with only 34 scrap in our hold, we were unlikely to be able to afford anything, but it was still worth looking. In the end, we were unable to afford anything, but I still believed that it was worth our time to visit, and I decided to have our ship fixed while we were there. While it was regrettable we were unable to afford to hire Valeria as Zoltan, it was at least useful to us to know that there were those who continued to resist the rebel advance. We arrived next at the long-range jump beacon, and while we were in the sector, we were greeted by a science vessel that found themselves low on fuel. Sadly, all they could offer in exchange were drone parts, and my own fuel was not as high as I would have hoped, and I was forced to reject their offer. Our next choice of destinations allowed us to head to either a slug-home nebula or an uncharted nebula. While I have no particular love for the slugs, some of their technology is useful, and I decided that heading towards their home nebula would be the wisest move I could make. Unfortunately, that made our sensors all but useless. However, I immediately detected a number of stores. Unfortunately, with little or no scrap to spend on them, I decided instead to head towards a ship in the hopes that they would help us acquire more scrap. When we arrived at the beacon, we found a hostile ship. Already the rebels had reached this area, and they demanded our surrender. We did not oblige. Alright, all hands, prep for combat. Flak cannons, target on my mark. Fire. Enemy ship has significant defenses. However, the shields have taken some damage. Flak cannon, fire at will. Enemy shields are down. Let's take them out completely. Good. Flak cannon, redirect, target enemy drone bay. Let's see if we can do something about that energy drone. They immediately began to beg to surrender. and I chose to accept their offer. While we didn't gain much scrap from the encounter, it was sufficient to justify visiting the store, in the hopes that they would have something worth purchasing. Sadly, they did not. Or at least nothing that we could afford. Had we had slightly more scrap, I would have strongly considered purchasing the services of a slugman, as while they are unpredictable crew members, they can be extremely useful, and the chance to acquire one is rare. We jumped into another sector and discovered an enemy vessel that had obviously made a big score and was looking to test its new armaments. We decided to prove to them the error of their ways. I observed the classification of ship and was aware that this one had one major design flaw. If you disabled both their oxygen bay and their weapons, they had no way to repair them, and you could suffocate the crew without damaging anything else on board. However, given that the ship was equipped with a powerful missile launcher, I knew that I did not have time to do it that way. So instead, I destroyed their engines with a burst laser fire and prevented them from maneuvering clear. Once that had been done, I focused my fire on their weapons bay, keeping their powerful new missile launcher offline. Guns, get their shields down. As their hull lay badly crippled and the last laser shot was barreling towards them, they admitted that we had bested them, and they offered us the contents of their stores in exchange for their lives. In the end, I decided to let them live. They had some fuel, which would at least be useful to us in the long term, and I accepted it gracefully and moved on. The slugs here, unfortunately, attacked us with a new tactic. They used a remote hacking satellite to sabotage our oxygen production system, and then they began to operate with fire weapons. They were apparently intending to suffocate us. Again, this was a class of ship vulnerable to having their oxygen destroyed. However, again, given that our own O2 systems were offline, we didn't have time to waste. And instead I focused on disabling their shields. Guns, focus on getting their shields down. A beam weapon is of absolutely no threat to us. Providing we can keep their missile launcher offline, we will be fine. Enemy ship destroyed. Enemy hacking defeated. As the slug ship broke apart, our systems returned to normal, and we collected what we could. It wasn't much scrap, but it was enough, and I decided it was time to upgrade the artillery beam. Reducing it from 50 seconds to 40 seconds might not seem like a major improvement, but in the heat of battle, that 10 seconds can save your life. We jumped straight into the guts of another mantis ship, and it appeared to be hunting slugs on their own turf, a rare test of honor. They immediately decided that we were their enemy, and they moved to engage. All hands, we have enemy intruders on board. Repeat, intruders on board. Move to support your fellow crew member. Target and destroy their weapons. I do not want those missiles hitting us. Shields have taken some hits, but enemy weapons are disabled, so we don't have to worry about that for the moment. I want flat cannon fire right down the gullet, and then I want burst laser fire taking the shield generator out of the equation. Nice job. Flat cannon. Right down the guts. Take them down. As the mantis ship broke apart, we once again moved in to collect any useful scrap we could find. And I seriously considered upgrading the artillery beam again, but I knew I would ideally have to wait until we had 75 scrap. Still, we were close, and if we could upgrade the artillery beam to level 4, it would be the most potent weapon in our arsenal by a long way. We found ourselves and get close to a slug ship marked with pirate markings, but thankfully they didn't seem to notice us. They did consider, however, we decided that I would not stand for piracy, and we moved into attack. Captain to all hands, be advised, enemy potentially has firepower to get through our shields. Don't play this one stupid, people. Target enemy shield generator, target enemy weapons bay. Enemy weapons bay crippled. Lovely job, guns. Okay, wait for the flak and burst cannons to be online. then target the shield generator with both. Okay, the enemy shields are taking some damage, but not quite as much as I'd like. Hit them with a flat cannon again, please. They offered us some cargo if we would let them live, and in the end I decided to accept. Now that we had the amount I needed, I considered upgrading the ship. Decided to quickly check the long-range scanners first. Detecting that there was no store in range that would be worth spending it at, I decided it was worth upgrading the artillery beam once again. We discovered an advanced rebel scout ship. It's remained stationed near a small rebel space station, but without functioning sensors, it was impossible to tell what was inside. I considered for a while and decided that it was worth destroying this rebel automated ship to potentially discover useful things in that station. Captain to all hands, enemy drones may cause problems for us, so be careful. Weapons bay, I want the enemy missile launcher taken out of the equation quickly. With the enemy missile launcher disabled, the drones became much less of a threat, and I decided to redirect fire on the enemy shields, enabling us to attack them much more efficiently. I then ordered the flak cannons to fire on the enemy drone bay, and the artillery beam cut straight across them, destroying them. We salvaged what we could for the broken ship, and then moved to investigate the station. Unfortunately, it had already been stripped clean, and we found nothing of use. We detected a store, but once again I decided it would be wise to move through a number of systems first in order to attempt to acquire more scrap. However, we discovered a system that contained nothing, and on our second jump, we found a heavily damaged Federation ship hiding in the nebula. We decided to pump extra power into our sensors and try to track them, and we were successful. However, it was enough to and while we found the ship, it was an empty hull, long since stripped of its functioning components. We were, however, able to salvage a substantial amount of scrap, and we headed towards the nearby store in the hopes of finding something worth spending it on. While the store had a weapon pre-igniter, one of the single most useful devices in the galaxy, we lacked the funds to buy it, and we would have had to sell too much useful stuff in order to afford it. In the end, however, I did purchase a mind control. Although I wasn't sure I approved of such devices, they were extremely useful for the simple reason that if the enemy had one, you could use your own to combat it. Finding nothing of interest in this sector, we decided to jump to the next, and unfortunately, our best option was to jump straight into the guts of the rebel stronghold. While the sector had been hit incredibly hard by the rebellion and their heavy-handed keeping the peace tactics, unfortunately, I scanned the area ahead, and we discovered that our two options were neither good. We had to choose between a pulsar and an asteroid field, and in the end, the asteroid field was the better bet. We discovered a rebel scout ship here in the field, and it immediately targeted us. Our shields were strong, however, and until the enemy was able to knock them down, we would survive. I targeted their shields automatically, and the burst lasers almost brought their shields down. Guns, target the flight cannons again. I want those shields taken out of the equation. We soon detected a fire, and without our door system there was no easy way to disable it, so I repositioned one of my crew members to repair the doors. Target the bridge, but stop him maneuvering. Nice work with the artillery beam there. It's quite useful that the artillery beam is automatic, unless I didn't have to worry about it. It would fire when it was ready. Most of the time, this could be a lifesaver. On occasion, it could be problematic. With the fire put out, I initiated jump. Moving through rebel-controlled space is always difficult, and I wasn't keen to encounter too many of them. But thankfully, we only encountered a single autonomous scout. It had potentially powerful weapons, but I wasn't too worried. by the simple fact that bomb weapons are notoriously inaccurate. Still, it didn't make sense to take risks, so I ordered concentrated fire and disabled their weapons. Gunny, target the bridge. And the shield generators. Enemy shields offline. Target the bridge again, please, guns. Once again, the ship left behind a substantial amount of scrap metal, and I invested in an upgrade to the reactor so we could at least bring the mind control ray online. I then also upgraded the sensors. The mind control ray, after all, was useless unless we could see inside the enemy ship. Once again, we moved on. And this time we detected an enemy ship. Deciding it was time to put our new mind control ray to use, I targeted one of them, and he immediately began attacking the enemy engine room. Unfortunately, crewman, we have an intruder. Repeat, we have an intruder. Move to engage. Karis, you can easily take care of him. Target enemy weapons bay. The enemy had a significantly powerful flight cannon, but it is now offline. And the enemy have retreated from our ship back to theirs. Target the shield generator while they're disabled. Damn it. Artillery beam fire. Significant damage to enemy ship. Target enemy shields. Fire. Enemy ship has attempted to charge its FTL drive. Let's see if we can screw with them. The enemy offered to surrender, and they even offered us food and fuel from their stores, and I chose to accept. While they might be rebels, I was still unwilling to kill a defenseless opponent. And I quickly refreshed my captain's cup and took a long, deep swig. As we jumped into the next system, we detected another rebel scout nearby, but it didn't engage us and appeared to be patrolling around a long-range sensor station. Knowing that sensor information could be extremely useful, I ordered an attack. Alright, captain to crew, all hands. Enemy ship does not appear to have any shields. Flat cannons target the bridge, burst laser target the weapons. Alright, the enemy ship is badly damaged. And is unable to defend itself. Burst lasers, take it out. We accessed the recent scans from the unguarded station, and we updated our map with them. This would do an excellent job of supplementing our long-range scanners. The area was lousy with enemy ships, and had only one store, but I intended to visit it, and decided that I would save all our scrap until we reached it, in the hopes that it would have something worth buying. We encountered a rebel ship. No, we encountered a mercenary ship. One with pirate markings. I considered what to do, and in the end, decided that I have no love for pirates, and opted to engage them in combat. All hands, this is the captain. Let's focus on getting the enemy super shield down. Once we've done that, we can bring the mind control ray online. Enemy super shield is holding, unfortunately. But it won't hold for this. Enemy super shield is offline, initiating mind control. Burst lasers targeting their shields. Enemy bombs potentially problematic, but artillery beam has done serious damage to enemy ship. Target weapon bay. Enemies appear to be quite badly wounded, and they are offering to surrender. We will accept the offer. We moved on, once again heading in the general direction of the jump point. We found a rebel automated scout, and we considered attempting to download its data stores, but given that we already had information of the sector, this seemed like an unnecessary risk, and we opted instead just to scrap it. We immediately found a small rebel scout which identified us as a threat. However, analysing its systems, it didn't appear to be a threat to us. While its halberd beam could cut through our shields if we were unlucky, I wasn't too worried. Even so, it still made sense to order an attack on their weapons bay. Guns, take out their weapons, please. Thank you. The ship exploded, once again, and we found ourselves in possession of additional scrap. With limited time, I decided to risk a slightly more circuitous course. I knew that it could potentially lead us into an enemy, but I felt the risk was worth it for the upgrades we might be able to achieve for our ship. All hands, we have boarders. Repeat, we have boarders. Mind control one of them, that'll help a bit. Remember, get in there, assist the mind control guy. Our shields have taken fire. Repeat, our shields have taken fire, and our clone bay is offline. This is not good. Target everything in their weapons bay. This battle is not going well, people. Get the O2 bay online now. Artillery beam, target enemy ship, and fire. The enemy ship attempted to run. I was tempted to let them go. However, we still had the issue of the enemy boarders on board, and we decided to accept their offer of surrender. However, for some reason that I would never understand, they didn't bring back their own crew. However, through careful application of mind control, I was able to strongly weaken the enemy boarding force. Pilot, go and kill that guy. There we go. Moving the Mantis to support you. Alright, let's get the shields back up. That fight did not go quite as cleanly as I might have liked. Excellent work. Alright, you and you go and fix that. You return to your position on the flight deck. All hands return to stations. I knew I was pushing my luck, attempting to do all this before the rebel fleet caught up with us, but I felt it was worth it. We arrived at a beacon to find ourselves in a huge rebel shipyard, scaffolding and construction drones filling the sector, and the entire system looked devoted to ship construction. And we decided to take a look around. And warning lights flashed as we identified a giant super ship under construction, a second flagship for the Rebellion fleet. It must have been in the secret shipyards where the first one was built. We've accidentally stumbled across it, and even in its weakened state, the rebel ship powered up. Get ready, for this would be one hell of a fight. Unfortunately, I was not convinced we were in a fit state to fight this battle. However, I had faith in my crew, and all I could do was hope that we made it. Guns, I want that missile launcher disabled. Excellent work. Oh hell. We've taken some fire and the flak cannon is offline. I need fire redirected towards the enemy laser weapons. Fantastic work. Their bay is on fire. Artillery cannon, fire! Their ship has taken a lot of damage. Might be tough, but it ain't invincible. Lovely job. Enemy ship is going down in flames. While the second flagship had been far from finished, that didn't make the battle any less of a victory. We'd crippled the rebels' fleet strength considerably, and while we didn't want to overstay our welcome, we quickly salvaged our choice bits of the metal, drones, and even an unusual object or two from the wreckage, and we prepared to jump. As we were preparing to leave, we detected an interesting Federation ship signal. Apparently the rebels were reverse engineering the advanced weaponry of a prototype Federation cruiser. We had no idea how they managed to capture the ship intact, but we programmed its FTL drive to return it to the nearest Federation base, and we hoped that it would make it there unharmed. Thankfully, the delay that the rebel fleet suffered would now mean that my plan had paid off. We detected a rebel scout attempting to attack a small refueling outpost, and we moved in to intervene. Guns, I want flak cannons charged and ready. Fire! First lasers, fire! Target the weapon bay. Good, the missile launcher's offline. That's pretty much what I needed. Target the flak cannon on the enemy shields, and back it up with some burst laser fire. Good job. Artillery weapon will be firing in 3, 2, 1, fire. Nice kill, guns. Alright. Enemy vessel destroyed. The ship broke apart and we salvaged what we could, and the outpost also hailed us. And they were thankful for our help. We had our options. We could pass through a plasma storm, but this seemed foolish to me, so instead I decided to visit an apparently unoccupied part of the nebula. There we found a man willing to trade us a substantial amount of fuel for some missiles, and this seemed a logical trade to me. I also decided it was time to upgrade our clone bay, as this would allow our crew to heal more effectively as we jumped. We then headed towards the store that we had detected. There we found almost what we could hope for, a burst laser Mark II, as well as a weapon pre-igniter. After visiting this store, I was as happy as I could possibly be. I had so many excellent weapons now, and I decided to get rid of the charge laser that we had acquired. I strongly considered hiring additional crew members, since our own ship was running low on them. However, in the end I decided against it. We now had a more effective forward barrage, and if I could successfully upgrade the ship's weapons one more time, then we would have an incredibly powerful opening salvo. All in all, I'm happy to say I made the right decision coming to this sector. We also detected a storage cache. We decided we would engage. Guns, burst lasers, target enemy shield generators, and fire. Excellent work crippling the enemy shields, guns. Target their bridge, target their weapons. Fire. Some fire got through there. Let's get those sensors back online. Target their drone bay, target their engines. On my mark, fire. We salvaged a decent amount of scrap and moved to investigate the station, but sadly, there was nothing useful there. It did, however, give us the scrap to upgrade our weapons systems, and while we didn't currently have the reactor charge to make use of the upgrades, that was fine by me. I decided our next stop would once again be through rebel-controlled space. And I decided once again that that was an ideal moment to take a break in my recording of my captain's log. End of report for the time being. It will be continued momentarily.